It's hard to believe that 10 years ago was when Lehman Brothers collapsed. We've had a pretty strong run in real estate since the global meltdown in 2008. I think the general consensus is that we're due for some kind of an event. What do you think are the biggest headwinds that are facing us in the next 12 to 24 months? And what do you think the next crisis might look like? Joe?
So I think everything in Canada is the big markets in Canada particularly are firing, and even Calgary, believe it or not, is coming back slowly, but it's coming back. So I don't see anything obvious. The big risk is an economic downturn. That sounds very generic, but the reason why real estate has taken off, it's a hard asset class providing stable, consistent returns. So all of a sudden, the pension funds who were nowhere near real estate 30, 40 years ago have come in a big way, and that's just filtered down. If we had an economic downturn and we had a tenant of some scale, you know, the worst case scenario, a bank, but even somewhere in the middle who misses a rent payment, everybody's running for the hills, because now all of a sudden the institutional investor can't say it's a guaranteed income like it used to be. So that would be the big risk. But I personally don't think that's coming. I think there is going to be a downturn. We'll probably talk about that. I think there's a downturn coming, but I don't think it's going to be so bad that you're going to see people miss their rent checks. And as long as people are, and some people do miss their rent checks, businesses fail, but that's always average, happens, and it's a very small component. But on a massive scale, I don't see it coming. So I think we're going to be okay for a while. We may not see the big appreciation that we've seen in the last little while, but I don't think there's any reason to be concerned in real estate.
So Peter, in 2008, that was a scary moment. There's kind of the cash in the mattress mentality, and the real estate market froze up. It was hard to do a real estate transaction. But actually, 9 months later, the REITs were back. Armin was back. They're buying. So
it dropped 45% first.
Yeah. But Peter, what do you think are the headwinds that are facing us as we go forward?
Yeah, a lot of it's the psychology of the market right now. So even at CB, we made a major acquisition. We bought the largest development company in the U.S., 1.9 billion, Trammell Crow, in 2006. We did it with 1.7 of debt. Oh, when 2008 hit, 2009, it was really tough. We were renegotiating debt covenants. It was not a good time. We've rebuilt our balance sheet, and it's funny, within the company, you hear open discussion at the top of the company. If there's a slowdown, this would be great, because then we could jump in. We'll be the first ones in. We'll buy other platforms. We'll do this. We'll do that. I remember in 2007, the big Canadian pension fund saying, if something goes down, we'll be jumping in. We'll look for the value, everything else. They were the first ones selling. It just, when the psychology shifts, that's where the markets really start to move. And I think we feel really good as Canadians. If you look at the downtown core here, 8 groups own roughly 75% of the downtown space. It's remarkable. That equates to relatively safe waters to swim in, because people don't panic. So whether you're office, whether you're industrial, whether you're retail in Canada, the big blocks are held by similar groups, and they can wait. They don't have to panic. So it's different in other parts of the world. So I think we are in a very envious position. I was in New York in 2008. I was talking with Morgan Stanley, and you could just see them. They couldn't believe it. We're pitching these great ideas, and they were, don't you know there's this big storm? I said, I got to tell you, it doesn't feel that bad in Canada. And they go, what do you think, you're an island? And sure enough, we got through it relatively unscathed. The U.S. has been scarred. So when the confidence builds in the U.S., it's 15 out of 10. They're just rock solid, and it's great. But when it goes out, it's tough, and that money will come this way. So I think for us, in Canada, in real estate, could there be tough times? Sure. Bonds, cost of money could be a big part of it. Development could be a part of it. Tech. But I just don't feel it right now.
Armin, I remember in 2008, October 2000, I was in Germany with you at Expo Real, as it was all unfolding, and we're all scratching our head like, what is going on? So what do you see as the next crisis? Like, what does it look like?
So that time, we were still just peaking. And we still always, Canada did escape the last recession very well. And our peak, we're trading at that time at about $17.25, and after that just went south. We went from $17.25 down to $4.50. I was buying our shares all the way down to $10 until I ran out of money. Luckily at $5, I found some more, bought some more. But after all, you just capitulate. How low can it go? We went from a 5% yield to a 24% yield. None of that made any sense. This goes back to John's graph. But at that time, Canada was also in good shape financially. We didn't have as much debt. We were the best of the G7 countries in terms of debt, and we came out of it. Also, the emerging markets and China started buying everything we had in 2009, and we came out of it fast. Calgary office market recovered. Today, things are a little bit different. We have a lot of debt. We're number one. Canada's number one. We're ahead of Italy in terms of total debt, and government, all debt, and not just consumer debt and household debt. And that's a challenge. And then you layer onto that rising interest rates, you layer onto that emerging markets are not doing that well right now. With an unintended consequence of quantitative easing was they took a lot of U.S. denominated debt, and their currencies are falling. They have to repay debt in U.S. dollars. So things have changed. And so back to Joe's point, a good old-fashioned economic downturn is what I see happening. But it'll be precipitated by central bankers raising rates just a little bit too high, even though they think they're not going to raise rates too high.
Armin, I should add that I remember that time because John Nicola said, we need to buy Artis REIT. It's really low when we did.
Well, and your firm did load up on REITs when we were all at the bottom, and then your firm got out.
Yeah.
But that was maybe the one time in the last 10 years that Nicola bought a bunch of REITs. But you did well on them.